Welcome back to the Sid Rosenberg Show.
The three worst drivers are old people, Hasidim, and women.
Now, none of those three are allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia, just saying.
Is that true?
Well, maybe they know something, yes. Yeah, I mean...
Well, there you have it.
It's Sid Rosenberg on 640 Sports.
Now to the race for 2016 tonight, and for the first time in months, a national poll this evening showing Donald Trump is no longer on top. Dr. Ben Carson now in the lead on the Republican side, though within the margin of error, followed by Trump, Marco Rubio, Jeb Bush, and Carly Fiorina. Tonight, Trump on the attack, some arguing he is suddenly changing his position on a key issue. ABC's Tom Yamas on the campaign trail.
Donald Trump saying it loud and saying it proud.
I'm number one in every poll.
Trump on top.
Your numbers are unbelievable. Boom, boom, boom. Really amazing numbers.
I've been winning every single one of them, right?
But today, with that new national poll showing Dr. Ben Carson in the lead, Trump bashing the poll and attacking Carson's plan to replace Medicare with health savings accounts.
He wants to abolish Medicare. Abolishing Medicare, I don't think you're going to get away with that one. It's actually a program that's worked.
But listen to what Trump said on This Week just 2 days ago.
Do you also agree with Ben Carson when he says Medicare probably won't be necessary?
Well, it's possible. You're going to have to look at that.
Today, Carson brushing off the attack.
It's just propaganda. I don't want to abolish Medicare.
Trump also challenging Carson's hardline opposition to abortion.
I'm a reasonable person, and if people can come up with a reasonable explanation of why they would like to kill a baby, I'll listen.
Ben he was pro-abortion not so long ago, and all of a sudden he's so hard on abortion, under no circumstances virtually can there be exceptions. And you say, well, how does that happen? Were you pro and not long ago?
I asked Carson about that.
And when did that sort of change in thinking happen?
A little more than 20 years ago. I was staying up all night long sometimes, operating on little premature babies, trying to keep them alive. And I began to really think about the potential in each one of those lives.
I can't stand to see you sad. I can't bear to hear you cry. You can't tell me what you need. All I can do is wonder why. Someday, somewhere, someday, somewhere, yeah now. Someday, somewhere, maybe I'll understand you. After all you've done for me, all I really want to do is take the love you brought my way and give it all right back to you. Someday, somewhere, someday, somewhere, yeah. Someday, somewhere, maybe you'll understand me.
The great Marshall Crenshaw. Isn't that right?
The great Marshall Crenshaw.
Dr. Ben Carson and Donald Trump, they will go toe-to-toe tonight. Very busy sports night when you consider Game 2 of the Mets and the Royals. The Mets lose a heartbreaker last night. Royals get a one-out solo home run from Alex Gordon off Met closer Familia in the bottom of the ninth. And eventually, after 1 o'clock in the morning in the 14th inning, the Royals beat the Mets, my Mets, 5-4. So Game 2 of that series from Kansas City tonight before the series shifts to Queens. Game 3 coming up from Queens on Friday. Tonight, the Mets' best pitcher, Jacob deGrom, on the mound. Johnny Cueto will toe the rubber for Kansas City. The Mets trying to even up that series, which is supposed to do, split the first two on the road. So despite a really, really heartbreaking, tough loss for the Mets last night, if they get a win tonight, they'll be fine. If not, of course, big trouble. deGrom on the mound for the Mets and Cueto for the Royals. Also, the NBA season started with 3 games last night, but none of the teams that we cover. Tonight, the Heat start the season. The Miami Heat start a brand new season tonight against the Charlotte Bobcats down in Miami. And is it Charlotte Hornets? What is it? The Hornets. Why do I keep saying the Bobcats? That's how much I love the NBA. And our Knickerbockers in Milwaukee tonight, taking on the Bucks. Our Knicks. You excited, Ricky? Knick basketball tonight?
I'm very excited. It's a good test for these.
So you're telling me you've got the third GOP debate on CNBC. In fact, Ron Insana, CNBC, will join us in about 20 minutes. He's a great guest. Third GOP debate, which you've gotten into tonight on CNBC, Mets-Royals, which you watched last night, World Series Game 2.
I did.
And you're going to watch Game 1 of a meaningless 82-game regular season with one of the worst clubs in the NBA, our Knicks, taking on Jason Kidd and the Milwaukee Bucks.
According to Colin Cowherd, the worst club in the NBA.
Is that what he said? But
that's what he said.
They're not the worst club.
They're not.
No.
He's lost his mind.
But they're much closer to the worst club than the best club.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
Colin
they're
Cowherd
in the
thinks the Boston Celtics can win it all.
He thinks they can win the championship.
No, that's silly.
I don't know
Stupid.
what's going on with him.
Yeah. What is that? What is that noise in the background, Eric? Now what are you doing? Now what? What was that?
Well, I don't know. What'd you hear?
I heard something. Ricky heard the same thing.
I don't even
what
have
was that?
headphones on.
Oh, okay. All right, so you're going to watch the Knicks tonight?
I will. I'll switch back and forth.
Let me ask you guys this. Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson, he's now gone ahead of Donald Trump in the polls. And you guys know that I'm off the Trump bandwagon. Lauren Jacobs sent me about 20 paragraphs last night of a supposed 5-tier plan that Donald Trump has with all the big issues. And I didn't even bother reading it. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. But here's what Dr. Ben Carson turns me off. And it was mentioned during that piece there, courtesy of ABC News with David Muir. It's one thing to be pro-life, which I think is a joke. I really do. It is what it is. You love the Bible. You love Jesus. You think it's murder. You're an idiot. That's all I'm going to say. You're an idiot. But it is what it is. But it's one thing to be pro-life, but if you can't separate a girl getting pregnant and having an abortion from somebody being raped and or some little girl whose daddy visits her bedroom more than once a night, if you can't separate rape and incest from somebody you deem irresponsible for getting pregnant, I can't talk to you. And when Ben Carson says what he said last week, which he, of course, he can't quantify. It's so idiotic. When he says there have been tons of examples of children born out of rape and incest that have done very well for themselves. Really? Ben, can you give me one? Give me one. Because I can't imagine a mother looking at that kid every single day. And no one loves their kids. It's silly. We all love our kids. I love my kids as much as it possibly can. I couldn't imagine a mom looking at that kid, no matter how much she loves him, saying, oh, my God, that's that guy that raped me, that's his kid. Don't tell me that doesn't change the game just a little. Or incest even worse. So Ben Carson was quick to say there are tons of examples. Give me one. You got one?
I don't, but I do have a question. Which GOP candidate...
None. That's the problem.
See, that's the one thing is I was wondering is that it's
None.
because that non-separation of church and state is what leads them to have these beliefs, and all the Republican candidates, I'm pretty sure, have the same beliefs on that.
Hey, Link, Zima, come over here. You're
no, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Link.
No, I pulled up on Google 10 famous celebrities born from rape.
Come on, swear to God.
Eartha Kitt.
Eartha Kitt, she played Batgirl or Catwoman.
Yeah,
I think she won an Academy Award. She was a great actress.
Okay, Zahara Jolie Pitt.
Is that Brad Pitt's daughter?
I guess.
Jolie Pitt. So she was.
Angelina
They
Jolie
adopted her.
Okay.
Right.
Jesse Jackson.
Jesse Jackson, the Reverend,
was conceived out of statutory rape.
Wow. Okay.
Let me see if you recognize these names.
Now, I know Ben Carson knew what he was talking about as far
Lane
as
Beachley.
people that had accomplished things. I don't know to what degree and what percentage.
Yeah.
I believe the percentage is probably
listen,
small.
You're going to vote Republican, yes?
Yes.
Are you pro-life? I don't even know this. Are you pro-life?
I'm mixed on it in many different ways.
Okay, that's fine. But when it comes to rape and incest, are you pretty adamant that at that point, that lady gets an abortion?
Yeah,
that's
tough.
it.
That's
no,
tough to
it's
argue
not
that.
tough. It's not tough. It's not tough. You're adamant that lady gets an abortion, yes?
Now, does she want one, or it's her choice, you're saying?
Of course.
It's her choice.
Well, she could have the kid and hate the kid forever.
Well, not necessarily hate the kid,
Oh,
but I
she'll
know what
hate
you're
that
saying.
kid. She'll hate that kid forever. Forever.
Well, I mean, in a situation where
and by the way, and when that kid finds out what happened, that kid will hate themselves.
Well, does Jesse Jackson hate himself?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I know it's a tough line to even imagine a child I mean, even imagine that is just disturbing. So yeah, I don't know where to go. That's. Oh.
Yeah, but see, if you do what you're doing right now on the debate stage, you'll get killed.
No, I know. I would have an answer. You're just asking me on the fly
but
here.
I'm surprised you don't feel strongly about it. I mean, I was going to say one way or the other, but if you're okay with it, then you just say.
She shouldn't be forced. She should have a choice.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah, just choice.
I agree with that.
Because if you force a woman who clearly doesn't want the kid, she's probably not going to want to raise it.
Right.
So now it's going to be turned over to the state, and it's going to be another kid growing up in
See,
homes
here's the problem.
And
we're discussing
no good either.
we're discussing a very important issue, something that will be discussed tonight. But Zemak is so caught up in Michael Kadire that he can't think about anything else. He's so effing angry at Michael Kadire.
Yeah, he needs to go. Did you turn Eric Lingell just turned my mic off in the middle of that?
Yes.
These buttons, are a little crazy here.
He needs to go, man. That was our big offseason signing. He's not even in the every regular day lineup.
I just got a text, by the way. Jesse Jackson has had an interesting life. Been a success, I guess. I don't know. Eartha Kitt, are all these people happy is what the texter asked me. And I don't know if they're happy. I have no idea. But then again, how many people that are not the product of rape and incest are actually happy?
Right.
Think about that for a second.
Right.
I mean, this show, everybody's miserable.
I mean, if you're going to sit there on a stage and argue,
me, of course,
and argue with Dr. Ben Carson on it, I think he's going to take you to town.
Well,
as
he's
far
going
as
to tell you about the scientific, medically. After 3 weeks, it's got a beating heart. After 6 weeks, it's got a heart. Whatever he's going to tell me, I don't care.
I mean, it's clearly not the child's fault that
I understand
he was born,
that.
But
right.
And
somebody actually said you take one crime, which is rape or incest, which is bad enough, and then you compound it and make it worse. When you kill the kid, you go to murder. Which some Republicans said that, and I wanted to punch that guy right across the face. So next time you guys compare me to Rush or one of these right-wing conservatives, take a listen back to this segment. I am pro-choice to the hilt. And I don't understand how anybody would be, to be completely honest. And when I hear, Ted Cruz and Rand Paul, even Joyce, I got to shut it off. I just have to shut it off. I don't like when people start to talk for other people as if they can make that. Oh, if I were in their shoes, don't even try it.
Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, if I was in their shoes, argument. If you want to go the scientific, medically, whatever, it's a child, it's a heart beating. That's a different story.
30 years ago, when Joyce was still smoking pot and banging guys like Lengel in the back of a Volkswagen,
that was a rumor
in the mountains of Denver, Colorado, and God forbid, something like that happened to her, she would have got an abortion in 15 minutes. But now that she's done having kids, that's over. Now, of course, and Jesus has saved her. Now it's and I can't stand that. Makes me nauseous, to be honest. No. Don't tell a woman what she can or can't do with her body. That kid's not alive yet. Care what Dr. Ben Carson tells me, Dr. Marcus Welby tells me, any of these doctors.
You've seen the signs on the way to Orlando. You know what's going on.
God.
There are a lot of signs.
A lot of signs.
And on the way back, too, right?
Yeah.
Both ways.
Yeah. No, mostly on the way there, though, for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I do remember seeing. There
was one sign that actually was pro-choice.
On the way
back. 90 the other way on the way back.
On the way back.
That's what it was. Right. That's what it was. Right. Yeah, you're right.
One that was pro-choice. One.
It got mixed in between.
Here's Dale. Hello.
Yeah, Sid, who would know more about the signs to Orlando than Lengel? I mean, the guy takes 2 weeks off for a vacation.
And he's taking off. He's taking off again on Friday. Not Orlando, New Orleans, but he's up again for the next 3 days.
Sid, I want to ask you a question. This is a very hot topic, but why can't there be a gray area? You know what I mean? Like, if you're Republican, I never understood, like when you talk about extreme cases for abortion, incest, rape, physical and mental issues with the child or with the mother who's conceiving the child. If Republicans would say, yeah, you know what, that's okay. We're going to be pro-choice in the case of extreme cases, which only make up 2% of all abortions. Then I think this would be much less of an issue than it is. But everybody's taking this hard stance. It's either for it or against it. Why can't there be a gray area? I mean, this is such a topic where I would love to see a candidate come out and say, you know what, I'm not against abortion in this particular case, but I am against it in this case. I think that would just be a breath of fresh air and some real honesty.
That's a great call by Dale. I've actually been saying that to my mother for a long time. I said, some of these issues, they got to drop because they're not going to change, and they're alienating themselves and alienating a certain population.
Well, is your mother a hardcore Republican? Conservative?
She believes in pro-life.
Pro-life, okay.
So I was just saying, I'm not going to argue, I'm not going to argue with her on the pro-life, but I want to argue that they can come to the center a little bit. You don't have to be Ted Cruz, be completely right-wing, because you're just alienating so many people.
Right, that's right.
And it's hurting the GOP.
Including me. It bothers me.
That's a great call by Dale. That's a great call.
I am so down on my own party right now as I get ready for this third debate tonight because I'm sick of Donald Trump. That is nonsense. This abortion stuff, the incest and rape makes me sick. So I may watch the Knicks.
Wait, I gotta say one thing. That just hit me when I was driving.
Who annoys you more right now, Ted Cruz or Michael Kadire?
Ooh. Oh, Michael Kadire.
By far.
By far.
Is there anybody in the world, now that Osama bin Laden is dead, is there anybody in the world today that you despise more just today than Michael Kadire?
As of right now, no.
Not even Obama?
No. Roger Waters, maybe. And we could start with Pink Floyd. But no, Michael Kadire
What about the guy that Donald Trump doesn't know? The leader of in Syria.
Yeah.
Mahmoud Abdul Rauf.
The leader of Hezbollah.
Right.
Yeah, him. Yeah, maybe him.
More than Michael Kadire.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
What about Jihadi John?
Yes.
Definitely more than Michael Kadire.
Yes.
So Kadire is not the worst.
Not the worst. He's essentially robbing the Mets of whatever, $10 million a year.
What about Keith Olbermann?
Liberal, but no, not more than Kadire.
What about Kim Kardashian, who said today, quote, she's pregnant, I feel like an epping whale? What about Kardashian?
No,
What about Caitlyn Jenner?
They're off my radar.
Caitlyn Jenner.
They're off my radar.
What about you, Langell? Caitlyn Jenner or Michael Kadire?
This morning, Michael Kadire. This morning, Kadire is
the worst.
Yes,
the worst.
The worst player ever, I heard.
Ever. Yeah.
I want to say something, though, because we were talking about Trump and no plans, and it's just, I'm going to make it great. Everything's going to be great. Now, if we go back to 2008, Obama ran on, he had no principles. He just ran on change.
Hope and change.
Hope and change.
Those two words specifically.
No plan, just hope and change.
That's
and
right.
Boy, did we see change. No hope.
Right.
But we saw change.
Right.
So maybe Trump will make America great again. Maybe he will have the best generals.
Well,
maybe he will have the best scientists. Maybe he will have the best health ministry.
Somebody was reading something yesterday, maybe in Joyce, from the International Journal or something, and it was a lady who writes for the Washington Post. She wrote something about Donald Trump, how Donald Trump is a great businessman. And what's funny about that is everybody's quick to say that because he's a billionaire. I'm going to bring on Ron Insana in 8 minutes, who works at CNBC. His job is business. He's going to tell you Donald Trump is not a great businessman, but you guys don't know that. You see he's made billions of dollars, so you don't look into the minutia, and he will tell you he's not a great businessman. But the article goes on to say he's a great businessman and he's a winner. He just doesn't lose, no matter what he does. Now, look, he came under fire yesterday because he said, my dad gave me a small loan. That small loan, of course, was $1 million. Now, to Donald Trump's credit, he took that $1 million and made it billions. You got to give him credit. $1 million is a lot of money, but he made it billions. He went into Manhattan. His dad was a Queens, Brooklyn guy. Trump went into Manhattan, and he did a great job. He made tons of money. Doesn't mean he's a great businessman. He's also gone bankrupt 4 or 5 times. He made a lot of mistakes in the state of New Jersey. Anyway, long story. This lady goes on and on about what a great businessman. He doesn't lose, and that's what we need. We need somebody who just doesn't lose to run the country. And I'm thinking, well, why not just make Nick Saban? I'm serious. Why not just make Greg Popovich? Well, what does that mean? Well, what does that mean? How does that translate to a good presidency?
No, you're right. There are a lot of tough questions. A lot of tough questions. No, you're right. I mean, you could throw some other other positive superlatives at him, like his children are successful with no money,
that was
not bratty kids.
That was in the column, too.
Was it? I'm not stealing that. I'm not stealing that. I came up with that myself.
Talked about all his kids and how he raised.
They're successful.
He did a very good job raising his children. Right.
As far as I know, or as been reported, Trump does not drink alcohol, no drugs, no prescription drugs, nothing.
No, he gets crazy about that.
Yeah, so
he gets crazy.
And kids aren't brats. Didn't hand them millions of dollars and say, go, start your own business, and the business flopped. No, they went on their own, and they're successful people.
Right.
But no, you're right. How does that translate into the President of the United States?
It doesn't. The answer is it doesn't.
And we have an example in the White House right now where you could say, guy did what did he do before he got there? He's a community organizer, essentially, and now he's in way over his head. And Hope and Change was what he ran on.
See, that's my
no
thing.
principles. Hope and Change was 08, and people bought it. Hope and Change. Oh, change. We need change.
My thing is this, though. The consensus, the conventional wisdom is that...
Oh. Acid?
Oh.
Yeah.
You know what it does? It's probably from staying up late, too. Your body doesn't get the full sleeping.
No, it's true.
Yeah, seriously.
That will cause acid reflux and a host of horrible things. That Donald Trump will not be in over his head. That because he's dealt with world leaders and businesses and serious issues, that even though the presidency is new to him, would be new to him, that he would not be in over his head. Do you accept that? That wouldn't hurt, by the way, just so you know.
In a way... Oof. The only thing I'm worried about is if he goes into a meeting with Putin and he thinks he can be buddy-buddy with him and he walks in and Putin's like, hey, listen, F you, I don't care who you are, I run this, I run that. Is he going to just lose it, go berserk, and be like, let's I'll bomb your planes out of the air,
Right.
We're going to take over this. Or is he going to legitimately sit down and try to have a discussion and try to work things out?
Well, he's been asked that question before. He was asked on 60 Minutes. People are critical of you. They say that you're the type of guy that'll hit that button based upon just any impulse. And I forget who did the interview. Maybe it was Steve Croft. And he's like, would you do that? And Trump was kind of poo-pooed it, but I'm not sure that Trump wouldn't. Which is okay with me because it's much better than this guy in office right now who tends to make friends with the enemy. Thinks making friends with Cuba and Iran and a host of others is the way to go. I'd almost rather have a guy that would start World War III in a heartbeat than that guy. I really would. Is that nuts?
What did Ditka say? It can't get any worse than this.
Can't get any worse.
He said no matter if it's Hillary or anyone, it can't get worse than this. Ditka's voice.
Well, right now, Hillary's going to just crush everybody.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't matter. This exercise in futility tonight with Donald Trump, the savior, he's going to make America great again. Hillary Clinton will beat him if the election was tomorrow. And he, in fact, did win the nomination. She will beat him worse than Mike Tyson beat Michael Spinks. She will be worse than, I hate to use this example because the guy died, God rest his soul, worse than Mancini and Dooku Kim, who died. Yes. It'll be worse than that. Worse. And that guy died. How it gets worse, I don't know, but it'll be that bad. That bad.
It's the reason we have 12-round fights and not 15 anymore.
Right. But we don't have 12-round elections.
No.
It's
Unfortunately
one and you're done. So all this hysteria about Donald Trump and people that love Donald Trump, he's the man, the Rich Stevens, the Joyce Kaufmans, the Laurens, and people like me that are not so sure, and people that hate him, it's all mental masturbation. He's not going to win. Even if he wins his own nomination, Hillary's going to stick it up his ass. Those are the facts.
But who has the best chance to go up against Hillary?
God.
Yeah, but he's...
What do you mean he? God's a she. What's wrong with you? What's the matter with you? Now I'm going to get a call from Now or somebody. Is God a man or a woman, Lengel?
God?
Yes.
I'd have to say a woman.
Thank you. Keep us out of trouble. Jonathan, what's going on?
Hey, Sid, the one thing talking about Trump maybe pushing a button, the key to Reagan's success was the Russians were actually worried that Reagan was going to push the button.
Well, yes.
Maybe we need someone who gives them that threat.
Oh, they don't care. Give me a break. You're right about that. Jimmy Carter was such a wuss. Ronald Reagan came into office. We knew he was going to get the hostages out of Iran right away. The Russians were scared of Reagan. That's why he got along so well with Gorbachev. It's not like that now. It's a different world. Putin doesn't care. Putin is not going to be intimidated by Donald Trump, by anybody. So don't get caught up in the whole, the Donald Trump. No. I'm sorry. It ain't happening that way.
Yeah, it's a different world, too.
Different world.
But anyway.
Knicks and Bucks. I can't believe Ricky Blueface is going to watch the Knicks and the Bucks tonight. You can't make that up.
The Bucks.
The Bucks. Oof. He says they could be one of the real sleepers in the East. Yeah. That's his quote. They could be one of the real sleepers in the East.
So what? They can go 8 games under 500
Something
get the
like
6
that.
seed?
Like the 4 seed.
Yeah, the 4 even.
Well, the Heat may be the 2 or the 3 seed.
The Heat actually, they probably will. They'll probably
Who's
be the 2
better
seed.
than the Heat? Besides the Cavaliers and maybe the Bulls, maybe. Who's better than the Heat? I mean, the Heat come out there with Whiteside, Deng, Wade. Now, who else they have? Chris Bosh.
Dragic. Dragon.
Pretty good bench, too. They got Birdman, Udonis Haslem, Justice Winslow, the rookie out of Duke.
Oh, that's right, Winslow.
Mario
right.
Chalmers.
Did you say Stoudemire? Did they get
Amari
Stoudemire?
Amari Stoudemire with when he plays 15 minutes, 10 minutes a game, he can be solid for those couple minutes.
Already year number 8 for expulsion of the Heat and the Hornets. coming up tonight. We'll take a short break. Again, besides Mets, Royals, Heats, Hornets, Knicks, Bucks, we've been discussing it the last 20 minutes. It's GOP debate number 3. It's on CNBC live from Colorado tonight, and Ron Insana is the face the last decade plus of CNBC. He'll join us live. Ron Insana, GOP debate, is next. Finally, the last thing is ISIS, and now Brooklyn. They want to blow up Coney Island, which would really upset me, you know.
Well, I mean,
Coney Island is still, you know,
the situation. I mean, isn't that their turf? I mean, Jersey Shore? No.
Coney Island? No, they're on the Jersey Shore.
Where's Coney Island? New York?
Brooklyn, you moron.
Well, I didn't know that.
No.
I watched the Jersey Shore. I saw the Ferris wheel and the boardwalk, and I said, that's got to be Coney Island.
Nathan's is not in New Jersey. It's in Brooklyn.
New Jersey and New York are the same.
No, it's not the same. God, now you've reached the all-time. Where's Herb?
The L sounds unusually stupid.
This is as dumb as you've ever been.
Sid Rosenberg. Mornings only on 640 Sports.
First time the Republican candidates for president will face off for a debate with a new frontrunner. Ben Carson has now opened up a national lead over Donald Trump, a stunning turn in a campaign season that continues to defy expectations. NBC's Hallie Jackson sets the stage for us.
It's all coming together in Boulder. For Ben Carson, too, #1 nationally in a major poll for the first time ever, now overtaking Donald Trump, thanks to support from people like Bruce Heilman.
Don't let his demeanor fool you. He is extremely intelligent. He exhibits incredible leadership skills.
Heilman echoing how other Carson supporters describe him to NBC, using words like intelligent and humble.
A lot of Republicans are now more attracted to Carson's personality, style, and professional experiences. But he, too, will have to deal with the details, with the policy.
But as Carson raises his profile, he's also raising eyebrows with his unorthodox policy views, comparing slavery to abortion, for example, and today defending his education reform plan, but saying it's not redistribution.
It's the government having a responsibility to educate everyone and looking at the best system in order to do that.
It's not just what he says, but how he says it, quietly. That's in stark contrast to his main rival. But the candidate yelling today isn't Trump, it's John Kasich.
Do you know how crazy this election is? Let me tell you something. I've about had it with these people.
The establishment Republican trying to make some noise in this crowded field as candidates not named Carson or Trump hope to break out to get some traction in polls that can and will change. Right now, 7 in 10 voters say it's too early to fully commit. Not Trump supporters, though. The majority say they're locked in. And today, new hints of a possible exit strategy, though Trump has insisted he'll never leave this race. If he does lose, he'll insist it's a victory.
I'll still be proud of my effort because I think I've done very well.
Here at the debate site, we will see how Trump, who likes to brag about his pole position, responds as he slips into second place, getting ready to take aim at Carson, who will face more scrutiny about his policies. And as you saw from Kasich, Trump probably won't be the only one fired up and on the attack as candidates on the bubble try to make an impression before time runs out.
All right, don't forget, coming up in about an hour, 8:45, the voice of CBS Sports, the Dolphins and Patriots on CBS tomorrow night. Jim Nantz will be here at 8:45. Tim McCarver doesn't get better than that, talking baseball at 9. The Royals beat my Mets last night, a heartbreaking Game 1 loss for the Mets. Game 2 from Kansas City tonight. In terms of the election, the rest of the week, the great Representative Peter King will join us this week. Doris Kearns Goodwin will join us this week. Chuck Todd will join us this week. But we start off our debate coverage Well, I call this guy the smartest guy I know, and I mean that. He's been at CNBC, who's got the debate later on tonight at 8 o'clock. There is a kiddie table tonight, don't forget. Same four as last time. Rick Santorum, Bobby Jindal, Governor Pataki, and my friend Lindsey Graham, before the big ones go at it. Ron Insana is the smartest guy on television, and he's joining us this morning. It's great to have you, Ron. Good morning, pal. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Sid. How are you? Listen, I mean, smartest guy you know, you've lowered the bar for me, and I appreciate that. So.
No, I mean that sincerely, and I know that you're probably still in mourning today after the Buffalo Bills came back from a 27-3 deficit against the Jaguars in London Sunday, took an improbable 31-27 lead late just to lose that game again.
Yes, it's the season's feeling just fabulous so far. Although, shockingly, we still have a shot at the wild card. I thought we were kind of done, but then I looked at the standings, and there's still hope.
You're in dead last, you know. You're actually half a game behind the Dolphins at this point.
Yeah, I'm looking at the other divisions, though, for the wild card.
So you are in New Jersey this morning, right? Not Colorado, is that right?
I am not in Colorado, no.
Okay.
I am in New Jersey, yeah.
You're in New Jersey. But it is your network that has this debate coming up later on tonight?
It is indeed, yes.
And I want to start
fine lineup.
And a very good lineup, yes. Harwood, Cantanilla, and Becky. But I do want to start with this. Everything I read these days, the Trump supporters are quick to tell everybody that he's a great businessman. He's made billions of dollars, and he's quick to tell you that, too. You were on last time, and being that business is your job, you know business, CNBC. And a lot of the guys that really know business say that, no, he's not. He's a great marketer. He's a great promoter. But Donald Trump is not a great businessman. Do me a favor and explain to these people who are quick to say that that's not necessarily true.
Well, a great businessman serves a number of constituencies, which would include his customers, his shareholders, his bondholders, his employees. If you look at Donald Trump's track record when it comes particularly to shareholders and bondholders, folks that we are very often concerned about on CNBC, he's gone through 4 business bankruptcies. Bondholders have gotten killed in some of his projects. He has done well for himself, and he does have employees who apparently he has done well for. But investors typically don't do that well with him, and I think that's a key metric of business success. And at the end of the day, I mean, I think it's generally believed that he overstates his wealth, that he's not a huge equity participant, not a big owner of the properties that bear his name, and he'd probably dispute that. But when you look at big real estate moguls, whether it's, Mort Zuckerman or Sam Zell out of Chicago, who is, worth $5-6 billion, whatever his number is, the really big players in commercial real estate, residential real estate, generally dismiss him as a marketer, a licensor, and not a real estate magnate, despite what credit he gets elsewhere.
So there are 2 things at play here. First of all, don't let the money fool you. Just because you've made billions doesn't necessarily mean you're a great businessman. And secondly, you guys aren't necessarily buying that Donald Trump is worth $9 or $10 billion.
Oh, I don't. There are very few people who do. I mean, and part of that 9 or 10 billion that he claims is the value of the Trump brand. We call that an intangible asset. So let's say somebody bought out the Trump organization. If for some reason the brand began to falter, you would write that brand value down to 0 from 3 billion, which is where he values it. So automatically from 10, you get down to 7. There are some people who say he does not include his debt in his net worth, which could cut it in half if it is as much as $5 billion, as some people suggest. So, look, he's still worth $3 or $4 billion, probably,
not bad,
number like that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's not.
But let me ask you this. But if this is what he's good at, whether it's, listen, if you made $3 or $4 billion, you're still damn good. He may exaggerate, he may bluster, but if he's not as good at this as he claims he is, and he's obviously fooled and duped a ton of people, smart people who talk about these things every single day. If he's not as good at that as he claims he is, what would make me believe he'd be a good president?
Well, look, I don't think he would be, and I personally think he's going to drop out eventually. So I think this is, again, another large-scale marketing campaign that he thinks will benefit his brand in the long run. There's no guarantee that a business person will be a great president. They don't often go hand in hand. I mean, truly great business people, tend to be committees of one. If you look at a Michael Bloomberg who runs his, operation, or even when Jack Welch, was running General Electric, or other people like that, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, they had very strong opinions, very strong visions, and were able to execute on that, which you can do if you have an organization that is built around your vision. Congress is not built around the vision of the president. There are a lot of hurdles to clear, a lot of, hoops to jump through in order to get even the smallest things done. And we've seen this, over the course of modern economic history. It may or may not have been easier in the past. Hard to tell. But, it just, you cannot rule by decree, which is what Donald Trump implies every time, he talks about what kind of president he is, that he'll do this and he will do that. Congress generally views the president as a visitor in Washington, not a permanent resident.
Right.
They can wait him out. So, there are a lot of things that have to fall your way to have a successful presidency. And I would say, in addition to that, his grasp of some of the complexities of foreign policy probably would leave his administration wanting.
No, he'd be fine. He's going to watch Chuck Todd, and he's going to watch Face the Nation, and he's going to figure it all out. He's going to hire all these great generals, and he's going to be great. Taxes, obviously.
You hire great generals, right? That's how it works.
Right, that's how it works. Taxes is a major deal that'll be discussed tonight. I did see Donald Trump's tax plan, and once again, I thought it was about as silly as building the fence around Mexico and all the things he's going to do there. I got to tell you.
Talk about, smaller government, you talk about all these things, and then you have a $10 trillion tax plan. It's kind of at odds with what you're trying to achieve. I mean, I don't think we could run up another $10 trillion in debt at this juncture, certainly not in rapid fashion. The economy would have to grow by $10 trillion just to keep the debt to GDP ratio even. So, listen, I don't, I haven't seen a serious workable proposal from Donald Trump yet, nor have I seen one from Ben Carson, really. I mean, it's been interesting. And look, Santorum's, I think, got a version of the flat tax, which, is always intriguing to people.
20%, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's about workable, somewhere between 20 and 22, assuming you don't do anything else. But you also get rid of a lot of favored deductions that people have. So, it'll be lobbied away by the time anybody gets to talking about it. Yeah.
What's funny is the other business person here, because I know you're talking about Ben Carson, who's not a business person, he's a doctor. But the other business person here who fares very well in these things, she does. She was great at the kiddie table in the first. She kicked Donald Trump's ass in the second. She has gone missing. She's been on a milk carton ever since. I'm amazed how poorly Carly Fiorina does after the debates. But she'll be back on stage tonight. She'll raise eyebrows again. She, too, is considered by some a great businesswoman. Why? She's held very high positions, Hewlett-Packard and others, and made a ton of money. But just like Donald Trump, you're here to tell me she also not a great business person.
Shareholders got crushed. She made an ill-fated acquisition of Compaq Computer. Hewlett-Packard is in the process of splitting in two and unwinding a lot of what was done under Carly Fiorina. Listen, I don't think she's a great CEO. I think we talked about this before. Ann Mulcahy of Xerox turned that company around, which was in dire straits. They were contemporaries. They were among the only two female CEOs in Fortune 500 companies at the time, and I would give her much higher marks. I would give Meg Whitman at who is now at where is Meg now? Meg's at Hewlett-Packard, right? So she's I think a much better CEO. I don't listen. I'm not a Carly fan. I've interviewed her on a handful of occasions. I mean, personally, I don't think we get along all that well. So there's that colors my view.
You know why? You know why? Because she knows Ron Insana, because you know business better than any of them. She knows you can see right through her. She can sit on stage with Matt Lauer. No disrespect to Matt. He makes a ton of money, but he doesn't know the difference between his ass and his elbow when it comes to this stuff. So she can sit there and wow him. She can wow the American public, but she ain't going to fool Ron Insana, baby.
Well, no, I'm not going to say that about Matt. Listen, I mean, Matt's now engaging in a different style interview with Carly than I would have, right? I mean, I would talk to her about business, and I think I did interview her when she was running for Senate in California. But, he's got to take a slightly wider and broader approach. And, his audience is considerably different than CNBC's, where we could get into the weeds on a lot of things that, might not interest the Today Show audience when it comes to the details of business. So, he's got a different audience and a different mandate. So it's a different approach. I don't think, Matt to me is one of the best in the business. If not certainly the best in, in the morning. So it's Carly and I had a different relationship, and it was a different set of conversations that we had.
Ron and Santa, CNBC. The third GOP debate comes to you live tonight from Colorado, and it is on CNBC. Harwood and the folks will moderate tonight's debate. I look at Trump. He is now in second place behind Ben Carson. And I would think he'd fare well tonight. I would think with the money deal. You know, what's funny is all my friends on the right, I mean on the far right, the real conservatives, or they deem themselves real conservatives, they're not interested in tonight's debate. They don't care about social issues, how you feel about abortion. They don't care about economic issues and money. All they care about is protecting this country. And I don't know how, because everything he said has been moronic. From watching Meet the Press to figure out his foreign policy to his plan on getting the oil to get rid of ISIS. It's beyond stupid, but for some reason, the folks on the right believe that the only issue that really matters to this country is immigration and keeping us safe from folks like ISIS. And for some reason, they're buying into Donald Trump. You're a lot smarter than I am. You tell me, what has he said? What has he said along the way that would make anybody believe he's got the right plan?
Well, nothing actually, and I find and again, I don't play for either team in a meaningful way. So let's deal with the most pressing geopolitical issues first, which is what do we do about ISIS? What do we do with respect to Syria, Russia's involvement, Iran's involvement, and the very same people who criticized for President Obama for not getting into Syria are now criticizing him for increasing our presence in Syria and Iraq to take on ISIS head on. Now,
part of that is because at least do what you're going to say you're going to do. I mean, you can't tell everybody this thing is winding down and then send more troops. Right.
Yeah, I get that, but it's everybody. It seems that in politics you get to pick the war you want, right? I mean, so. Yes. And that's the way it's played out. Now, listen, we know from Iraq's experience and under George Bush and Barack Obama that you can't go into Iraq and take the oil. It doesn't work that way. I mean, Iraq is three separate countries. Iran's in Iraq. The Russians are on the other side to a certain extent. There are no simple solutions to what have been, intractable problems for, anywhere from 50 to 2,000 years, depending on which groups you're talking about. So just these kind of offhanded statements about how, in one juncture, I was still puzzled by a statement that he made early on in the campaign, which was when he was being criticized for not knowing the names of who ran Hezbollah and the difference between the Kurds and Al-Quds in Iran. Right. That he said, listen, it doesn't really matter because they're all going to be gone by the time I get there. Well, who's going to get rid of them? I mean, if you think Barack Obama is an ineffectual leader on foreign policy, why would those guys be gone?
I agree.
He didn't say they're going to be gone after. He said they're going to be gone by
before.
There. So I don't understand what that.
I don't get it either. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get anybody's foreign policy at the moment. I mean, it's very difficult, I think, in this environment to balance a policy against Russian aggression because their economy is imploding and they're about to actually run out of foreign exchange reserves. China's defending, man-made islands in the South China Sea, which we challenged yesterday. You've got the Middle East in every conceivable way effectively up in flames. This is beyond three-dimensional chess, and it does require some sort of grand coalition. You can't just march in and be the British Empire and decide you're going to take over the Middle East. Those days are quite long gone, and it didn't do much for Britain either. So.
Jeb Bush is being called whiny. People are very upset. They understand on one hand why he'd be loyal to his brother, even loyal to a fault. That's fine. But he's been called a whiner all week. A lot of people very down on Jeb Bush, the way he handled himself a couple of days ago. What do you think?
Well, I think, in some ways, it has to be the most disappointing campaign approach that we've seen so far in the Republican field, and insofar as it's hard to agree with Donald Trump, but I mean, he hasn't shown the type of spark, the type of energy, the type of command of the subject matter that I think many people believe he has. Most people believe him to be a policy wonk, somebody who can put forward proposals, justify them, support them. And in fact, we haven't seen that in the Republican field at all. No one has really put out a serious set of policy prescriptions for the country, assuming we're as in dire straits as Mr. Trump would suggest. Right. And so, I find it kind of odd that people are doing a lot of shadow boxing here. You got Donald Trump saying what he's saying, Ben Carson saying what he's saying, and very few people are just coming out without being kind of whiny or snarky or snipey because they're, behind in the polls, and saying, listen, this is my multi-point plan. This is what we need to go forward. This is the substantive stuff that's been entirely missing from the debate, and really pound a plan into the minds of the American people. And I think if somebody did that, if somebody really broke away and got serious, it would be, whether there's too much noise or not, you just keep beating that drum. Listen, I'm over here. Here's the plan. Hold it up.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton putting people first. The type of thing that you can put in a pamphlet and get to the average American so that they understand there's a program somewhere.
Yeah, what's funny about that is I was one of those guys who didn't care. I didn't care about a plan. I'm just pissed. I can't stand Obama. I despise him. I'm sorry. Or this whole administration. And I'm pissed. So early on, Donald was appealing to that. He was. And when people would say to me, well, eventually there's got to be some substance there, I'd be like, no, I don't care. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Just get somebody in there who's pissed off, who's going to do something. And then now, amazingly, this happens to me all the time because I'm fickle, and I admit it, they were right. Because I'm at the point now where I'm sick and tired of the bravado. The guy, for him to say, I'm going to make America great again, and really have zero plan to do that. I have actually gotten to the point where I went from a major, as you know, Ron, Donald Trump supporter a month ago to now I can't stand him. And when I see him on TV, I'm like, come on, man. Come on. And listen, I know him in real life. I know he's a jerk off anyway, but he had me a month ago, and now I'm done.
Technical term as far as I know. Listen, you've been at the U.S. Open when he's been there.
Yes.
Right? What's the response of every New Yorker when they show him on the screen?
What is it? You tell me.
It's a loud series of boos.
Right.
Right?
That's why I just said. That's why I just said I know him in real life, and he's a joker because he is.
And look, that but that aside, right? Because you can have a president who's a jerk, and we've had some in the past, who might not be a nice person, who might be mean, who might be mean-spirited, whatever. It's and that may or may not be relevant to doing the job, right? I mean, we don't know, we don't care. Not having a plan is inexcusable. Making stuff up is inexcusable. And what's more inexcusable, for some reason, is that the American people are buying into an empty bag.
Well,
a series of empty promises.
Stop. The American people are the same people that elected Barack Obama twice. You can't trust them. They're morons. I mean, let's be honest.
I mean, look, I'm not a supporter of this administration in a variety of different ways. But when you look at the progress the economy's made since the recession, it's measurable, right? We have GDP is above where it was.
See, it's funny. I'm glad you're here to say that because the folks on the right will tell you that sluggish, barely made any progress at all, that we are still a poverty-stricken country, poverty at an all-time high, more people out of work despite the unemployment numbers, more people out of work than ever. So, and Sean, a very good friend of mine, Sean Hannity, goes on the air every day and talks about basically how destitute this country is. And you, a CNBC guy, you're telling me, slow down.
I'm telling you it's absolutely wrong. I'm telling you that first of all, Sean
it can't be wrong. Bobby Jindal said it. How can it be wrong?
Sean is not my first source on economic reality, okay? He's not the person I turn to for an in-depth look at the economy. Okay, so let's walk through the numbers. The gross domestic product, which, we suffered a big fall during the crisis, is now above the 2007 peak. Retail sales above the 2007 peak. Auto sales at an all-time high. Unemployment has gone from double digits down to 5.1%. Underemployment has gone from 17% down to under 10%. Part of what's creating the appearance of higher underemployment is that 10,000 baby boomers turn 65 every day, many of whom retire. So the size of the workforce is shrinking because many baby boomers are leaving and retiring. So the so-called participation rate, the number of people involved in the labor force, at least partly is structurally declining because of the aging baby boomer population. When you look at a variety of other metrics, the stock market from March of 2009 has gone from 6,500 on the Dow to 18,000 today. Household net worth is at an all-time high. Granted, it's been concentrated in the 1%. There are people who are being left behind. We still have too many people on food stamps. We still have too many people who have been left behind as the economy has grown too slowly. But net, if you look at a post-crisis environment, Take the crash in 1929 and the depression in the 1930s. You take Japan after its markets peaked in early 1990 and then crashed. Their economy hasn't fully recovered. Depression took 25 years to hit an all-time high in the Dow that was hit in 1929. We've done that in the space of 5. The U.S. economy, the U.S., generally speaking, in both relative and absolute terms, is what I call Fortress America. Look around the world. Is there another country the U.S. should be like? Russia, China, Europe, Japan, Brazil, India.
Yeah.
No, not even close.
No.
Not even close.
No.
We don't have to make it great again. We have to fix some pressing problems.
Yeah. See, this is why I don't like. This is what annoys me about you. To be honest, as much as I love you and say nice things about you, is you come armed with statistics and you ruin a nice fairy tale. You ruin it.
Good meme. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'm tired of hearing it. Listen, in 2009, everybody said sell stocks right at the bottom. You had these guys coming out and talking about the next crash. You had the guys coming out talking about the Fed's policies leading to hyperinflation, a crash in the dollar, another crash in the stock market. None of it happened. It was all nonsense. It was founded on absolutely nothing. The intellectual framework wasn't even there. And people made money making those calls initially. They've been dead wrong for 6 years.
Well, there you have it. There you have it. That is the real portfolio of the United States. These are you can't argue these statistics. Brought to you by Ron and Sana, CNBC. So on the way out, another great performance, by the way, Ron. Really, really great.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Tell me just a couple of the issues that will be discussed most heavily by your network, CNBC, tonight.
Well, the House is voting on a 2-year budget pact, which eliminates the threat of an imminent debt default by the United States. And so Republican leadership in the House, before it transfers to Paul Ryan, has cut a deal with the Obama administration to avoid now what would be a messy budget situation until after the presidential elections and in fact, until the next president is sworn in. Certainly they're going to have something to say about that. Tax policy, immigration policy, the false notion that the United States is offshoring more jobs these days than it used to. Quite frankly, we're beating China and Japan on the jobs front. I hope that Mr. Trump is challenged on that because we're seeing with low energy prices, manufacturing jobs already coming back home. Hopefully Mr. Trump will be challenged on the notion that he talked Ford into moving a plant from Mexico back to Ohio when that was decided in 2011.
Wow.
There'll be discussions about the debt ceiling, whether or not it should be raised. Ben Carson has come out and said that he would not raise the debt ceiling as president. Well, the debt ceiling is only raised so that you can pay the bills that the U.S. government has already incurred. So he, by saying that, he's implying that he would allow the U.S. to default on its debt, which is, obviously a potentially catastrophic event.
Right. Yeah.
So they're going to hit him on every front, on the economy, on trade, on tax policy, which, again, Rick Santorum, to a certain extent, I don't think he's a viable candidate, but, that I don't know if they'll have that flat tax conversation. But they probably, I'm sure, will press Mr. Trump on his numbers, and they will press Ben Carson on the fact that he doesn't have a tax plan, as far as I know.
Right. How about having one? Hey, you were great. I love you.
having one's always good if you're running for president.
Exactly.
Let's go back to Walter Mondale. I'm going to raise your taxes. Guess what? I'm not going to win.
That's exactly right. Hey, great job again. I love you. I really do. You're spectacular. Thank you. What a spectacular job. That's my dear, dear friend. He really is fantastic, and he's smart, and he knows stuff, so. You guys can text me and Facebook me and tweet me or your anger or your frustration, your Donald Trump love. And if Ron Insana was on stage with Donald Trump tonight, he'd have to be out of the race tomorrow. He would. Because Insana, long time at CNBC, actually knows what's going on. He's not campaigning. He's not looking for your vote. He's giving you the facts. Back after this.